Radio Memories with Skywalker, sponsored by Audio Girl Productions. Devastatingly effective voiceover, music, jingles, recording for television, radio, podcasting, all multimedia. Check them out today at audiogirlproductions.com.
Radio Memories with Skywalker remembers Billy Pearl.
Thank you, Bobby. What a guy, Ocean. And thanks for tuning in to Radio Memories here, the special edition on January 12th, 2022, as we remember Billy Pearl. A lot of you may not know the name Billy Pearl because he's been out of radio for a long, long time, but he was a big, big superstar in the 1970s here in Los Angeles. And Billy passed away on January 4th at the age of 71, way too soon. He died of cancer. I understand that he was surrounded by family, his three children and his wife. So that's some comfort. But here's the strange thing before I get into some details about Billy Pearl. I was scheduled to actually, I was doing an interview on January 4th with Tony Cox, and this is who was supposed to air. His interview was supposed to air today, and we were talking about when he was in Chicago. Now, Tony has been to San Francisco and Chicago, and he ended up settling in Sacramento. But during his time in Chicago, he was talking about, and that was in the 70s, and now I've known Tony since 1984. For some reason, he brings up Billy Pearl. And we've talked so many times over the years and about so many disc jockeys. And for some reason, he's talking about KIIS-FM in Chicago. And he says, you know, we needed somebody like Billy Pearl. Do you know that name? I said, do I know that name? Oh my goodness! I used to listen religiously to Billy Pearl. He was one of my favorite disc jockeys, and I think he was everybody's favorite disc jockey. You know, in the early 70s. I mean, there was no place you could go without not hearing Billy Pearl on the radio. He was everybody's favorite night disc jockey. And so we continued to talk and finished the interview. So when I went back and watched the interview, about 10 seconds after he mentions Billy Pearl and we talk a little bit about Billy, the video starts to glitch. And it glitches throughout the remainder of the interview. So I thought, oh, I'm going to have to call Tony Cox tomorrow and tell him that we have to redo the interview. Now, the next day, which is January 5th, I get a call in the morning from my friend Kevin Gershon. And he says, and it's early in the morning, he says, Billy Pearl passed away yesterday. And the hair on my arms just stood up. It was just, first of all, I couldn't believe Billy was he left us way too soon. I couldn't believe he had passed away. So I called Tony Cox and I said, Tony, you know, when we were talking yesterday, during the interview yesterday, I was going to call you today and tell you that we had to redo the interview because it glitched out. And it's funny because do you recall mentioning Billy Pearl and us talking about Billy Pearl? He goes, yeah. I said, do you ever remember us talking about Billy Pearl before? No, it just came to my mind for some reason. And then I informed him that Billy had passed away. And then he had the same kind of reaction that I did. It was just so unbelievable that he had mentioned his name. And we had never discussed Billy Pearl before. And Billy Pearl was such a famous personality in the 1970s. And everybody wanted him, like the Billy Squires song, if you know that song. Everybody wants you. in 1973, he was at KKDJ, and then K100, KIQQ. They were calling themselves K100, and that's when Drake Chenault left KHJ, and then he went there, and then he went to KHJ. He was LA's night guy from 73 through, I think, 77. And it's very interesting. So what I'm going to do is just go through a little bit of Billy's career. This is not going to be a long show tonight. This is not going to be a long episode, but we are certainly going to recognize one of LA's best. And remember, Billy Pearl. So we're going to start off with LA's number one night guy in the 1970s. And I'll put up the list as it starts off in 1973.
It's 7:32, Scooby-Doo, I'm Billy Pearl on KKDJ. Los Angeles with over 8,000 minutes of music a week. That's heavy. You know I'm gonna go! KKDJ, the new LA radio leader, where you can sail off on your very own Kona Cat sailboat on a beautiful blue. And you can call in and win it in a matter of minutes. All sorts of heavy stuff to go on beyond the 3-mile limit. I bet you Noah's Ark wasn't half as good as what you got planned. Billy Pearl at 7:36 with Stevie. Higher ground. People. KKDJ. KIQQ Los Angeles K100 just keeps on coming with more music. It's left 21, right to 8, and back to 7. That was my old locker combination at Fairfax High. Hope you turned yours in today, too. Great to be here at 6 o'clock. Billy Pearl. The marching band. Woo! School is out at last, and I'm so glad you passed.
100 more music.
Here comes summer to make your flat top curl. It's Billy Pearl. Howdy!
When you're talking in your sleep.
You don't have very many commercials. I appreciate that.
Suddenly, it's K100.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now.
K100, the new music station where you hear the new records first. Rufus, tell me something good. Summer vacation is here. Say, hey, woo!
K100.
Every night and day. KKDJ is my number one radio station.
KHJ and the Ozark Mountain Daredevils and Jackie Blue Jeans Skin Tight LA Girl with Billy Pearl at 7:47.
Hi, who's this on the Wolfman telephone?
It's all happening this weekend, the Green Tag Sale at Wild West stores. Go get them. I'm going to play this fine tune for everybody doing a stroll down near the Santa Monica Pier. Oh, I just love it, man. Here are the Blackbirds and...
Billy had a God-given talent and entertained teens across Southern California throughout the 70s and inspired future disc jockeys. And every appearance he ever made was always crowded with teens. He was so popular. Billy Pearl was a homeboy. He attended Fairfax High School, and when he went to UCLA and walked into the radio station, the radio bug hit him. Bill and famous TV writer-producer-director Ken Levine, former 70s disc jockey, back then known as Beaver Cleaver, had known each other while attending UCLA, and one of their assignments was to do a project about radio. Now, this was back in 1971. Now, this is very funny, and you can check this out on Ken's wonderful podcast called Hollywood and Levine, and it's episode 170. And Ken and Bill would later work together, but this is something that they did during college, and I believe they get an A+ on this project, and it's very funny. After a few first gigs and getting his feet wet, then came the big 1027 KKDJ. And that's where I first discovered Billy Pearl and began listening to his show in 1973. And I became a loyal Billy Pearl listener.
I'm on my way, I'm making it.
Big break, or so everybody thought. Drake Chenault, leaving KHJ to program a new top 40 station on FM 100.3 called K100 with an all-star lineup, mostly former KHJ jocks. And this included Robert W. Morgan from 6 to 10, Eric Chase, El Chasero, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., The Real Don Steele, leaving KHJ 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., Billy Pearl coming from KKDJ, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Jerry Butler coming from KHJ, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., Jim Carson, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., Beaver Cleaver on the weekends, Billy Pearl, and Ken Levine getting to work together at a big-time L.A. radio station. So this should be a massive, successful radio station. But it turns out to be more like a massive disaster. Billy Pearl bolted after 9 months when KHJ made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
And he went to do nights. Billy Pearl's arrival rejuvenated the energy at KHJ, and his ratings went through the roof. Billy was such a great jock, and he had such a great way. I was always so mesmerized by listening intently to his shows on the radio and how he structured his bits and how his quick wit to do a set with content, fun, and brevity. Something you just can't explain to anyone anymore. They just don't get it. And in 1973 and 74, when Billy was becoming an up-and-coming radio star, he was on the FM dial, first 102.7 KKDJ and then 100.3 K100. And basically you had to listen at home, usually on your parents' stereo, because back then they didn't really have the FM band in a lot of cars. So the only way to listen was basically at home, where you had access to an FM radio. In 1976, Bill became a consultant to help rebuild Top 40 KRLA, and he was part of the team that created the KRLA Hitman concept that brought automation to life. Bill would do a live show from KRLA's old Pasadena studios as Jack Cheese. Bill joined KMPC Talk Radio in 1982 for the better part of a decade and produced his own news talk programs. Between his career at KHJ and KMPC, Bill became a lawyer. I first met Billy Pearl in 1975 with my friend Kevin Gershon at a KHJ promotion held at a Musicland record store inside the Northridge Fashion Center. That was a local mall here in the LA area. So when Billy walked into the mall, we introduced ourselves right away, and he was so cool to us. He actually stopped and talked with us before he had to get ready to give a nice young lady 93 seconds to grab one album at a time to bring it to the front of the store and repeat the process to grab as many albums in 93 seconds. The mall was so packed with so many people. After the whole thing was over, we saw Billy was busy, so we started walking towards the exit. And then he stopped us and waved us back and thanked us for coming out to see him. And even though he was busy, he stopped and gave us a couple of KHJ T-shirts. And I thought that was really cool. And that really stuck with me. Bill would later go on to work on 710 KMPC, become a conservative talk show host on AM 790 KABC Radio, a successful attorney, and went on to create the LBReport.com in Long Beach, California, founded on the idea to keep politicians accountable and keeping other local media outlets on their toes. Billy Pearl was a very fun, exciting part of radio back in the day. And that no longer exists. And those of us who grew up, who were very lucky enough to grow up listening to such amazing, entertaining, not snarky, nothing negative, just a fun guy on the radio that always made you feel good, where everything was based on theater of the mind, and just a wonderful time. Rest in peace, Bill Pearl, and thanks for the great radio memories.
Billy Pearl, 1950 to 2022.
check out past interviews on the Radio Memories YouTube channel and on Spotify. Click the links. This is Maggie McKay for Radio Memories, a Dave Schuyler production.
Radio Memories.